Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second of three cast roundtables covering Outlast Season 4. My name is Peter Zubiago, and I'm a member of Outlast Production. And I'm here today talking with Jojo, Nick, Ashley, Brandon, and Amy. We'll have another final roundtable talking with the final six when the finale airs in 2 weeks. But right now, we're here talking with these five players, all of whose torches were snuffed just a little too soon. We'll be going through each elimination separately and in order. But first, I want to give each of our players a chance to talk about their background with LRGs and what they came into Outlast hoping to achieve. So, Jojo, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Nick.
Yeah, so LRGs, never done them. Never done them in my life. I had played probably about 10 online games before. Half of them Survivor, half of them Big Brother formatted. I had won one Survivor game before. Generally make merge in most of them that I play. And going into Outlast, the plan was to just adapt. You know, I don't go into any game with any set strategy because I feel like that kind of derails it. I just want to adapt to whatever's happening. I tried to do that for the most part. Sometimes you get lost in the sauce, you know? So that's what happened.
It's true. Nick, how about you?
Yeah, so I didn't have any LRG experience either. I actually just became a Survivor fan. Sorry, other show fan.
It's okay. You can say it.
Survivor fan. I just became a Survivor fan like a year or two before, and binged through every season. So I was just hyped up to play the game and try it out. And watching myself back, like we'll talk about it more when we get to me, but watching myself back, I had no idea what I was doing at all. I sit there and I watch Survivor and I'm like, oh, you idiot, you should have done that. And then I get out there and I don't know how to do any of it, but it also doesn't help that this game moves so fast. I couldn't handle the speed of like how quickly you have to talk to people and strategize. So anyway, I just wanted to go out, try the game out, maybe find an idol, and have some fun. And I think I did that. So,
yeah, I would definitely agree. Ashley, how about you?
So mine's actually pretty similar. It was probably the free premium trial that we got to watch Survivor, and I wanted to go on some kind of, it was any type of show, like game show, and I asked if I could go on Survivor, and my husband said absolutely not, you'll be gone too long. So I googled the right thing and Outlast came up. The application was open. It's in the summer. I'm a teacher, so it just worked out, and here I am. So like I went into it just, I didn't really have much expectations besides what I knew the format was. Just do my best, have fun. I'm from watching it back, and same thing, I'm like, I have such a different perspective on watching those shows because you just don't know, being in that atmosphere, what it really takes, like just mentally, physically, emotionally. It was such a challenge, but I was grateful for everything I got out of it and all the people I met. So I got what I wanted.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I'm always interested to know like how people find out about these games, and this group is an interesting a group of people that hadn't played before, and some people who are very experienced, as we'll get into in a second. So I'm sure that's something that'll come up as we talk further. But Brandon, how about you?
So I played once before, back in 2019, and then I hosted a game for a while. Well, I still do, so I don't know why I put that in the past tense. And yeah, I hadn't played in 6 years, and I was like, I think it's time to try again. The first time I played, I focused on the social games. So coming into this one, I was like, I want to strategize more, and kind of put the focus more on the strategy, rather than just focusing on the social game. So that was my goal coming in, was to strategize as much as I could. unfortunately, we kept winning, so I didn't have the opportunity to until like really late. But yeah, it was fun.
Great. And Amy, how about you?
So Outlast was my 5th Survivor game, and I looked at it a little different. I felt like I had enough games under my belt that I just wanted to go have fun this time. I wanted to win, of course, but I wanted to be a little more relaxed than previously. It worked up to a point, but yeah, I was scared to play Outlast. I've been on the volunteer crew since season 1, and it scared the crap out of me how hard the game was watching it. And so finally decided to apply. And up until my exit, I was having time of my life. I thought it was one of my better games to that point. But yeah, we'll get to all that. But yeah, I just wanted to come have fun.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I'm surprised you were on production for my season, and I'm surprised that anyone that was on production for season 2, when it was torrential rain for one of the full days, basically, that would ever want to come back. But we're glad that you did, and they gave us a chance to play this game this time. So we actually have so the first roundtable was full of a lot of Aho members, and we got a pretty good insight into how the original Aho tribe worked out. This roundtable, we have a lot of original Tuklo players, and so maybe we'll get some insight into what was going on that group. Of course, you guys never went to tribal council as a group, so maybe there's not a lot to say. But I still think to start with a group of players, sets you up for either success or maybe elimination later on. And so I'm curious to hear from a lot of you, how the early game would have translated into the mid game portion where unfortunately you all were eliminated. But Jojo, we'll start with you. You're someone that did not go to many tribal councils in the pre-merge. You did go to the final one, and as part of Brooke's elimination, and then you go out first in the merge. So to start with you, I'm curious, like, what your pre-merge game and maybe your original tribe dynamic looked like, and who are people that you were close to and hoped to carry you through further through the game.
So on the original Purple Tribe, my number one person was probably Abby. I felt very close to Abby. I felt like he was another messy player, and I work good with other messy players. And I could just tell from the jump he was a villain. I wanted to work with him. And then also I had a special connection with Jenna. I think just like kind of a motherly kind of connection. Not sure what it was, but I felt close to her. And love you guys too. Damn, I just talked about the other two that are not on this call. But so for me, I mean, I'm just going to be completely frank. For me, if it was up to me on the original tribe, I didn't have time at that time to get to know Brandon on the first day. If it was up to me, I would have went for Brandon, but that was...
Okay, we're back after some technical difficulties. Jojo, we'll let you pick up where we left off.
Okay, yeah. So my closest people were Avi and Jenna. And those are the only two people not on this call. Not a good look. Womp womp. If it was up to me, on the first day, the person I was most distant to was Brandon. Sorry. But on the second day, I felt like I got closer to Brandon. And I felt like Brandon was a strong social player, and I would have been scared to go for him on day one. I probably would have just listened to everyone else. And I don't know where that would have went. So...
Very fair. And so then let's talk through the other tribes that you were on. There's 2 more tribe swaps, and I think the second swap changes only a few pieces across the board. But even still, I think that first swap, puts you in touch with a lot of new players. And so, who were like new connections that you made in this swap portion of the game?
I'm trying to remember who all was on that tribe. So I know that me, Brandon, and Amy were on all of the same pre-merge tribes.
Right.
We also got, oh, that was when it was the Brain versus Brawn division.
Yes.
So we
yes.
got Francesca, we got Will. Those 8
Joseph
people.
and Liz.
Joseph and Liz. Yeah, I was close with both Joseph. Oh, and did we get Nikki too? We got Nikki
Yes.
as well. So of course, Joseph, Nikki, and me all got the amulet thing on the first day. I am thrilled to get on that tribe with them. And then also I always wanted to work with Joseph from the jump. And then both Francesca and Will were people I wanted to get close with, especially on the first day. And Francesca was really good at getting strong social connections on the first day by driving all of the icebreaker conversations. And that made all of us feel like, yo, I like Francesca. I want to work with her. And hell, it worked on me. And on top of that, we were both in the top 3 of the reward challenge rankings. So we wanted to protect each other, along with Joseph being in that. So I loved that swap division there for me. I felt like I would have been great, well off if we went to a tribal.
Yeah, you brought up the amulet situation and how all 3 of you ended up on one tribe. You know, obviously it was decided by you guys and not by us at all. So it just happened this way. But it was very interesting to see how you all ended up in the same group, and I think had lasting implications, down the road. But I'm curious if if the 3 of you were able to talk at all on that tribe about what you had done earlier in the game and how you planned on using it. If that developed further from that initial conversation you had when you were all standing there and got your amulets for the first time.
So for me, there was never a specific, like, yo, this is the round that we need to do this or whatever. It was just a general, and there were a couple points that we were able to meet up again. And we, it was just an agreement of, hey, this is just kind of a second life for one of us in the game. We're still doing this. We're good. And, nothing to me indicated otherwise. I never saw a reason that we wouldn't be able to use the amulet together. I'm like, hell yeah. If I hear one of their names, sure, this would be a fun thing to do. Because that's another thing. I didn't get to say that the first time I spoke, but having fun is one of the most important things to me whenever I come out to play these games. So playing a super idol is fun. So like, I'm down, baby. I'll mess stuff up. That's fine with me. I would have never guessed that the other 2 weren't down. So
yeah, that's very fair. So you kind of implied this, but you were willing to, if the merge had come and you had all had the super idol, you were willing to do the super idol for someone that wasn't you.
Depending
obviously
on
like you would love for it to save you, but
yeah, absolutely. Depending on who the other person on the line is and the situations, because every round is a different situation.
yes.
Because if I'm choosing between Nikki versus Abby, depending on what happens over the course of however many rounds, I might be willing to save Nikki and let Abby go with the super idol. It just fully depended on what would have happened in the game. So I would have been down, sure.
Totally. So let's get a little bit more into your relationship with Joseph and this last pre-merge tribal where he stands up to play his amulet and you and Nikki, I remember being there, you and Nikki, like everything just like melted off of you. You guys were like, what? What are we doing? So talk me through that a little bit more.
Yeah. So the first thing that I thought was I want to grab both my hands and choke this man. Not really. Obviously, I'm not a purveyor of violence. That's it's just a game, obviously. But I'm like, dog, like this guy just fucked up my plan. I have been lying to all of my close people on Tuklo. I've been lying to everybody about having anything. So my social cred has been tanked because I have lied to everybody and I have been caught red-handed. Especially when Nikki looks at me and says, Jojo, might as well play your idol too. And it's like, well, guess we're playing it instead of using it as a fake later in the game. I guess that's been decided for me at this moment. So yeah, that was really shocking to me, but Wait, what was the question again? I'm sorry. It was about
No,
Joseph.
just about your relationship with Joseph, and you talked through already like
So
what that.
So yeah, he still at this point before this tribal, at this tribal, during this tribal, the whole time, he's still one of my number one people. I'm wanting to say probably Abby and him are my top people at this point. Like either tied or Abby is first and Joseph is second. Either way, he's one of my top dogs. And then he surprises me with this. He hasn't told me that he has any inkling of playing this idol. And because he didn't tell me, to me, y'all have learned this about me. I have a bit of an ego, a God complex. I'm thinking, this man wants to ruin my game. This guy played this idol to absolutely splatter my game against the wall. So instead of being cool, calm, and collected, like I would do if I was properly nourished, I malnourissedly decided to, I guess we could say I don't want to say go off. Perhaps we could say I went off on him. I don't know. But I called him out in front of everyone because, one, it's fun, Sounds like a fun thing to do. Put someone in the spotlight and be a little antagonistic. But, this dude just kind of ruined my game. So I'm like, fuck it. Let's take the cards and throw them into the fan. Play some 52 card pickup and just kind of just lay the hammer down on everybody. I don't know. I wasn't thinking. I was just kind of in the moment, doing things, saying things.
Right.
And it was fun, and I think it made for some good TV. But definitely not my best strategic gameplay there, not at all. But yeah. If we're doing trust rankings on every episode, Joseph went from number 2 at the start of the Brook Boot episode to number 13 at the end of it. So like that was that was a fun, turbulent thing to go through. I like working with messy players. I said that earlier, but I guess Joseph kind of surpassed what messy can contain. So I say that in the best way.
Yeah. Very fair.
His chaos surpassed
Sure.
So yeah, that's what happened there. It was fun. It was fun. I look back on it and it was fun, but in the moment I was frazzled. I didn't know what to do, and like a cornered animal, I lashed out on everybody in my vicinity. So that was fun.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting how this happened because it prompts everyone coming into the merge, I think, and I think maybe it's Will that says this, but there seems to be like consensus targeting on some chaotic players from the pre-merge, and that kind of ends up being like Ryan, you, and Joseph, setting the stage for like this first vote, and also to some extent Nick as well. And so talk me through this first round, and after the immunity challenge with the Outlast maze, you come back. Like, who were you hoping to rely on in this vote to pull you through this, knowing that you just had burned Joseph and Joseph had burned you, but did you think that was going to work together now or what?
Yeah, so I didn't realize just how terribly, awfully I screwed myself socially until I didn't even know that my name was really, really out there as an option until a little bit into the discussion. I'm going into it thinking that Ryan and Nick are still at odds and that I can manipulate that. And I wanted to get Nick out because I saw this man looking around for idols openly, and it pissed me off because I wanted to be the idol guy. So I wanted to go for Nick. But me and Nick get along so well on a personality level. But, it was also the fact that Nikki, and I think this was discussed at some point, she thought she was telling Brandon. She ended up telling me at some point in the night that Nick had talked to her about being green strong. So obviously I knew that Nick wanted to be green strong and he wasn't telling me. So that was another reason that I wanted to go for Nick and get a green player out. And because Nikki had told me that, I thought, and another thing, there was one point that Amy had secretly told me that she knew that both Brandon and Amy were hosts. So I had that in the back of my head, and Brandon and Nikki were my wild cards, especially after Joseph had blown up the idol thing. I thought Nikki was on my side. I didn't think I didn't realize how badly I had done them by being a crazy person maniac after Tribal on that night. So they were my main secret weapons that I was relying on to pull myself out of the deficit I found myself in, because I didn't realize my name was on the line until Francesca, of all people, told me. And I don't know what in the hell made me think I could get her to vote Nick and go with a Nick vote. But that's, I didn't recognize the power of the Francesca Nick Will trio at the time. And you hear that whenever there's a confessional at one of the swaps. It's the swap after me and Abby did the thing, and we're talking about how it's like me, Brandon, Nikki, Nick, Will, and Francesca. And there's a confessional where I'm like, yeah, me, Brandon, and Nikki are tight, and I'm just gonna get one of Nick, Francesca, or Will to flip on each other. It's simple as that. That's the stupidest confessional I ever heard myself say. It's comedically just off the mark. But yeah, they I thought that I would be able to get votes on Nick, and one of my downfalls is that I never want to go for the other person that's blatantly on the outs. I could have possibly flipped it on Ryan and maybe saved myself. That might have had more pull than a Nick vote, but I would rather upset the power structure than just kind of go with it for one more round. So I guess that was my attempt at making a stronger vote than just a Ryan vote to save myself for one more round. So that was kind of the strategy going into that. I didn't want to go Joseph there because I felt like that was too obvious. And another thing about me is I don't want to ever do the thing that's too obvious.
Sure.
So just wanted to go for a bit of a stronger move there because I thought I had more pull, but I recognized a little too late that I had tanked all of my social rep.
Sure.
After that Tribal.
Sure. So you mentioned Nick, Francesca, and Will. Nick, I'm curious from your perspective as the other person that was like getting heat this round. I'm curious if you felt like how solid you, and this is we'll get into this I'm sure when we talk about your round as well. I'm curious how solid you had felt with Will and Francesca at this point going through the pre-merge with them, and did you feel very confident that Jojo was going to be the vote, or did you think that there was a world in which it landed back on you?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Just when I hit unmute, everything got quiet again.
Yep.
Will, and Francesca, they were my number ones from the beginning. And we'll talk more about it when it's my turn. But the two of them were clearly number ones together, and I was just kind of like a second thought. But I wasn't as tight with them as I thought they were with me. But going into that vote, me and Francesca were very tight because her and Ashley had just saved me on that Rede vote. And then Will was voted against me in that vote. But I had told him right away, I said, I'm not mad at you. Like, you're still my number 1.5. And I think Will was trying to earn my trust back at that point. So I felt good about Will and Francesca. There was no way Jojo was going to crack that. So going into Jojo vote, I felt confident that it was Jojo. I knew that Jojo was trying to pitch me and Ryan against each other in that moment. And me and Ryan talked about it and we were aware of it. And we were just going to let him think that was going to happen and didn't just vote Jojo out. So sorry, Jojo. And now I can't hear Jojo anymore.
Oh, I was muted.
Very fair. So the other thing that happens so it ends up being Oh boy. Other thing that happens this round is most people do end up voting for you, Jojo, but Amy, you throw a vote on Nick, sort of like a pity vote question mark. At least that's how it read. Jojo, did you ever know who it was that did this? And
so I was sure that it was either Amy or Avi. Figured it was either one of those two. I was pretty sure it was one of those two.
Sure.
I was surprised that it wasn't both of them, actually. So I will have some words with Avi about that one. But no.
Yeah.
And you know
Amy,
what?
do you have? Yeah.
You know what? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I only threw the vote on Nick because I knew he wasn't going, and that was the first like strategy jury management move I wanted to make. So if I made it to the end, I could say, "Hey, Jojo, I didn't betray you," and hopefully get his vote.
Sure.
It probably would have worked. I was rooting for you.
Great.
Thanks, buddy.
Good. So Jojo, so this that turns out to be the end of the road for you. Were you ultimately blindsided as the votes were coming out of the urn?
I want to say kinda, yeah. Because there are some good liars in this group. I would have never expected Ashley to write my name. I was a little shocked by Brandon and Nikki overall, but you know, your gut doesn't lie to you. And when I sat down in tribal, I just felt like, man, like I'm chicken fried, bro. We're fucking done, dude. Like, this is not looking good. If I had an idol, I'd have played it. I'll say that. If Amy slipped me her idol, I'd have played that thing, and y'all would have had to deal with me a little longer. But she didn't do that, and I got 12th place, so it was fun.
Great. Any lessons coming out of your experience here in Outlast?
The lesson is to keep your mouth shut whenever you want to say something to somebody. Keep your mouth shut and think if you should say that thing. And then,
Sure.
Because you know, I kind of skip the thinking part and just do the whole saying part, and then I think after the saying part, and that didn't really work out for me here. Just kind of popping off at the mouth. It's fun and it's great for the cameras, but it is not great if you want to win the game of Survivor, where it is social and people are voting you out based on how much they like you, you know? So, but no, overall, had an absolutely incredible time, and I don't think I would take back anything I did, because I mean, it was fun at the end of the day. I went out there to have fun, cause some chaos, and do some silly stuff, and I feel like I did that, and you know, I had a lot of fun doing the challenges, and that was obviously where I shined. So, yeah, I feel like I learned that the challenge physical game is, you know, we're A-okay, but we got to work on the social game.
Sure. It's a great thing to take away. So we do lose the destroyer of civilizations here right away in the merge. But the next round, we get a very big idol play that will eliminate Nick Doig here. Nick, I want to start with you in the pre-merge, because as we kind of hinted at, you had a close brush with death already in the game. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that vote where Rade ultimately goes home. But everything that went on there, and you know, you touched on your relationships with Francesca, Ashley, and Will a little bit, but I'd love to hear your perspective more on like what was going on there.
Yeah, so that vote was like a tipping point for me, where I'm very much like Jojo, and we've realized this after the game, that me and Jojo are very much alike. We want to start like a buddy comedy together. I want him to come live in my house. I'll fly him out to Massachusetts, and he can live in my in-law apartment. Me and him both just came into this game wanting to have fun and be silly. That's my personality. I can't, I just can't do anything like seriously. And I think part of it is because I'm like a big guy, and I don't want to just be like this big brute guy. I want people to see me and then immediately realize that I'm like silly. And then that way they're not like worried about how big I am. So anyway, coming back, what I'm trying to get to is that when that Rede vote happened, on the counter, your cheese is on the counter. When that Rede vote happened, I immediately realized, I was like, oh no, I almost went home and I haven't been silly enough. Like, I need to be more silly before I get voted out. So obviously, an episode or two later, the deodorant moment happens, which is probably my silliest moment.
Yes, definitely.
And so yeah, that vote was crazy. Hi. The cheese is on the counter. It's on the counter. Sorry. She wants cheese just like me. Yeah, so when that vote happened, Ashley and Francesca were the only ones who had my back. I don't know how I got through that vote. I had this extra vote in my pocket for a while, and I almost used it a couple times just out of paranoia, and then I decided not to. So when it got to the point where I knew everyone was voting for me, including Will, which shocked me, I decided to use this extra vote. You couldn't see it on camera as much as I'd hoped, but I had this like kind of evil smile on my face that entire tribal, because I knew I was going to play this extra vote and at least cause a tie. I didn't think I was going to win the tie. That was a shock to me, but
We didn't either.
I just thought it would be fun to cause a tie, make Rede a little scared, and then get voted out. So I was very happy when I made it through somehow. And I have Ashley to thank for that, and Francesca. At one point, Francesca was crying during that tribal, and I was sitting in front of her, and I reached my hand back. Hey, quiet. I reached my hand back and kind of like grabbed her hand, and basically to tell her it was okay, because I thought her tears meant that she voted me out. And I was like basically telling her like, it's okay, don't worry about it. And then she stuck with me, and from that like solidified Francesca as my number one from then on out. And Ashley too. I'll talk more about Ashley, but Ashley I had just met basically, and she voted. She saved me, and I was like, okay, she's an ally. She quickly became one of my closest allies. So yeah, I mean, that vote was wild, and after that I just decided, like Jojo said, I want to have fun while I'm out there. I didn't expect to win, so I just wanted to have as much fun and kind of try to be a little chaotic before going out. Unfortunately, I got cut short and didn't get to do much chaos, but
yeah. Well, I mean, look, seeing the auction, your antics at the auction was so fun. The camera captures it great. It was really fun to be there in the moment too. Like we love when people like can make a moment like that. Outlast is not primarily like something that we want to make money off of in the way that CBS Survivor does. But even still, like it was clear that you were having fun, and we love to see people having fun. So we appreciated the deodorant moment from that perspective. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about your relationship with Abby a little, as he's the one that is ultimately responsible for you going home here. I think one of the things that's interesting about that in particular is that you hadn't known that he was being targeted that round, and so in a way, it's a little like friendly fire here, where his idol sends out someone like you, as opposed to, no offense, Brandon, someone like Brandon, who may have had a bigger hand in what was going on. Obviously, Brandon, yes, you were mute, but someone more on that side.
Yeah. So me and Abby, I never felt like me and Abby fully clicked, just because he stressed me out. um, anytime he talked to me, anytime he talked to me, he was just constantly like, are you going to vote for me? Are you coming for me? Are you coming for me? I had to constantly just be like, no, yeah, I'm not coming for you. I haven't heard your name. You're fine. I just had to keep telling him that, and it just stressed me out. I couldn't see myself working with Abby. Um, but and then when the Verday vote happened, I was mostly mad at Ryan after that, but I was also mad at Abby, and but I wasn't mad at Will. I had forgiven Will just because he was like my baby boy. He was my son. Um, and but Abby, so I kind of had Abby as a target in my mind. But that vote, I was told it was Joseph, and because it was my first time ever playing, I was too afraid to like make any crazy moves. So I was just like, oh, everyone's saying Joseph, let's do it. It's an easy vote. Um, and then it changed to Abby, and no one told me. And I don't know why no one told me. I think everyone, I was told that people thought I was close to Abby, which I wasn't. If anyone had come to me and said we're doing Abby, I would have been thrilled. Um, so I didn't find out until Tribal when Abby said it, and apparently was right. Um, and then I was at that point. Then Abby said he was going to vote for me, and that's what was my downfall. Is when Abby said he was going to vote for me. I like my blood started boiling, and I was like, well, fine, I'm going to vote for you if that's what everyone else is doing. But I didn't stop for 2 seconds and think, if we all vote for Abby and he plays an idol and he actually does vote for me, then I'm gone. And if I had just like taken a breath and thought about it, I could have stuck with my Joseph vote, which would have caused a tie, and I think I probably would have gone home anyway, because people at that point were on Team Joseph.
I'm
But
seeing some disagreement from Brandon.
I'm surprised Brandon shaking his head, because I thought Brandon was close with Joseph. I don't know. It's hard. I never really saw you and Joseph interact, Brandon, so I didn't really know your relationship. But just from watching back the episodes, it seems like everyone liked me as a person, but it seemed like I was very disposable for almost everyone. So I feel like if it came down to a tie, people would have been like, well, let's just get rid of Nick. That's just how it feels watching the episodes, which it is what it is. I'm just glad I got to make friends. So, sure. Anyway, what was I saying? Now I forget. Oh yeah. Thinking about it over these past months, if I had taken a few seconds in the voting booth and thought, can I win against in a tie? I probably would have written down Ryan in that moment, because it seemed like everyone was a little sketched out by Ryan in that moment. And then Abby would have voted for Ryan too, because Ryan had just voted for him.
Right.
So that's one of my biggest regrets. I have 3 big regrets, and that's one of them, is not taking a beat to think about it and voting for Ryan. My other 2, my second biggest regret was shaving my face before playing, because I look so much better with a beard. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm like, I hate my face. And then also, like, I had long hair when I did my interview video, my audition video, and they even told me when they called me, they're like, we love your hair. And then I got a haircut and it was short, and that's my third regret, is cutting my hair. So I'm growing my hair back out in case I play another game. I'll have nice hair.
Nice hair. That's great. Well, I'm glad that 2 of your regrets are not related to the game at all. But
not
I will say,
to the game at all. I just hate the way I look on camera in our game. So sure. Is what it is.
I will say, for me, like, one of the high points of this season was I mean, unfortunately for you, like everyone sitting in this tribal council where Abby's about to play his idol. Brandon, you go, I'm voting for you. And Abby goes, have fun with that. And no one blinked. I think it's hard to take the time in the moment, and Nick, I don't for a single second like blame you for not thinking it completely through there, because I think when there's a lot of chaos, it's very easy to just go with the straight vote down the line. And we saw this even earlier in the game with the Jenna vote, which was our very first live tribal, but not our final. I do think it tends to end up being unanimous in that way, and so I don't think that you are wrong for not thinking of it. But watching it back, it's like, oh my god, you said it, you said it.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, he said it. I didn't even pick up on that, but he also the part that really annoyed me, and I told him this going into jury. I was a second jury member, so I was like the vice president of the jury. Is he sent me to the jury very anti-Abby, but it wasn't because he voted me out. It was because right after his 11 votes were read and there was one vote left, he looked at Nikki and he said, bye. And that gave me like one glimmer of hope that I wasn't going home. And then it came, and then it was my name. And I'm like, why did you have to do that? Like, give me that one glimmer of hope. And that just pissed me off. And I went to the jury really mad at Abby. So basically anyone who came to the jury, I was just trying to tell them, like, hate on Abby as much as possible. But I'm over it now. I love Abby. I wish I had reassured him a little bit more that I wasn't against him, so he didn't choose me in that moment, but can't go back.
Sure. So, well, one of the things that happens this round is your name is a little bit in the mix to be a majority vote, because they're worried about this pair of you and Francesca moving forward. And maybe Brandon, maybe this is where I can ask you to jump in a little bit. Like, why would that shift? Like, why did the decision become like, well, we don't need to break up Nick and Francesca anymore, and let's instead take a shot across at Abby, who it seems like is a bit less well connected at this point in the game.
So from my perspective, I thought Abby was in a much better position than he was in. I didn't actually realize until watching it back that so many people were considering voting him out early in the merge. Like Francesca's confessional saying that she would vote out Abby. I was like, what? That whole like other side, and I guess other side would be the people that were on the other tribe before we swapped. Before we merged. I assumed they all liked Abby. And so when me, Ryan, and Nikki were talking about like, oh, we should make a bigger move and take out Abby, it felt like a bigger move than it actually ended up being. And obviously it didn't work, so it wasn't a big move anyway. But yeah, we thought it would be much harder to get people on board than it ended up being.
Sure. It's just interesting because the two times that we'll get to the second one in a bit here, but the two times that Abby played an idol, Francesca's name is kind of like in the mix as like one name, and then it always lands on Abby again.
I think you should talk to Nikki about that one once you talk in the next roundtable.
Sure. Well, happy to. Yeah, I'm just trying to find out what's going on. So Nick, you unfortunately do go out of the game here. Any big takeaways? You said you only have 3 regrets and you went through those already, but
one more takeaway that watching myself back, and also I've played one more game since this. Brandon was the host. It was a great game, even shorter than this one. It was only 24 hours. But what I've learned from both games is that I go in. I make really good connections with people. Everyone likes me. People seem to think I'm fun, think I'm funny. But I need to start actually saying you're my number one or ride or die. I need to use that terminology because clearly Francesca in my mind was my number one. Will in my mind was my other my 1.5. And then, but neither of them thought of me that way. They thought of each other as their number ones. So I need to learn how to solidify that bond with people a little bit better.
Sure.
That way I need to have a ride or die, a Camilla or to my Kyle. So yeah, that's my biggest takeaway. I think if I play again is to try to talk about final threes, talk about final twos, whatever. Just so I have those people who I know won't turn on me until they do, which happens. But
yeah.
So yeah, I had a lot of fun. I like Jojo. I went out to have fun. I did that. I wish I had a little more time in the game to be a little more chaotic and silly, but it is what it is. I had a great time. I loved it.
Great to hear. So in the next round, we lose Ryan, who unfortunately couldn't join us today. After Abby wins immunity off the back of an idle play, which is always the way that it seems to happen with these kinds of things. The second that you become a hot target, you're immune. But this is a sort of difficult vote, I think, for people to make. Amy, you're a player that doesn't really want to do this. In your voting confessional, you say you wish that it kind of didn't come down to this. So for you, just if you could explain why this round, Abby being safe, why it would fall on Ryan here.
Hard to say what other people were thinking. I just remember that I met Ryan day zero, when we were all just chilling. And I just clicked with him. So I didn't want to see him go because I was like, oh, I'd love to work with him. So it was pretty much that simple. I just felt like we clicked, and if we got the chance to work together, could have worked.
Yeah. Brandon, for you, why did it, bring back?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sorry. I'm just trying to get at why it was time for Ryan to be taken out of the game with Abby having immunity.
Oh, I didn't want Ryan to go. I pushed really hard for Ryan not to leave. Me and Nikki I think we were targeting, I want to say Francesca. It could have been. I think Ashley may have been an option as well, but I didn't want Ashley to leave either. I really can't remember what the other name was that round, but I pushed really hard.
Ryan ends up voting for Ashley, so that seems to be what the other plan was going to be.
Okay. Yeah, so I tried really hard for it not to be Ryan, similar to what Amy said. I talked to Ryan a lot on day zero, and he was one of the people I connected with the most on the first day, and we never ended up on a tribe together. So when we merged, he was someone I really focused my attention on, which unfortunately that wasn't a good idea because he had just made a huge mistake that pissed off a lot of people. Yeah, it ended up being I don't think we didn't feel like we had the numbers, so we just let Ryan go.
One more thing, I think when I was saying that.
Do you have a sense of who? Yeah.
Talk to me. Are you waiting for me?
No, feel free to go, Amy.
Oh, sorry. One more thing about Ryan leaving. I wanted to work with him, but I also did not want to vote Ashley. I didn't want to vote Ashley more than not wanting to vote Ryan. So it just was unfortunate timing.
Sure. And so, Ashley, that brings us to you. You're the backup name in this Ryan round, and then unfortunately the next round, you end up getting eliminated through one of the crazier ways that a vote could go down, which is an idle play leading to a two-way split, leading to a 3-4 thing. So just know that that's a crazy way to go out, and you shouldn't feel bad about that. But you were a very interesting player to watch throughout this season, because I think coming in, the sense that I always got from you was that you were there to have a good time and to make connections and to play pretty socially. And I think unfortunately for you, you end up in a lot of really chaotic positions. The swap tribe that you're on, the first Jenna vote ends up being a live tribal. You're part of the Rede vote, which is one of the crazier things that's happened in Survivor games like this. And then there's multiple idle plays, and I'm curious to hear you talk through what you were trying to bring into the game and how you wanted to play, and how you felt about having to navigate the zaniness and the chaos that was brewing all around you.
Yeah, so my day zero, like when we got to talk with everyone, it was exhausting. Like I was on it from the jump. I was like, all right, like we get to talk to people. And then by when I was just sitting there, like I have no idea what to say anymore. Like I was just so drained. And then I got dead last. I was like, well, only up from here, And I got on the tribe. I connected really well with Amy and Brandon. And then we didn't have to go to tribal, and then we got swapped, and I got the honor of being with Abby, for the rest of the time. And being at all the live tribals. And it just with Abby, I was very honest with him. We did not the Jenna vote. I vibed with Nick very well. Like I remember he approached me with the Jenna vote, and in my mind, just the logical thinking, and that's what the episode was called. I was like, all right, I didn't have a super huge vibe with Jenna, so I was like, I'll gain the trust of two, and then I was willing to work with Nick, and so then I voted out my own tribe member, and then the Rede vote, I remember with that, I was people were saying Nick, I'm like, I don't want to, but it was kind of the whole thing. I didn't have a big voice. And then it was as I was walking to tribal, I don't know what had happened, but Francesca was like, that's it, I'm voting Rede. I said, me too. I was like, yes, that's all I needed. And so then I voted that way, which was not with Abby. And then it was just all craziness. Every episode that comes out and all that, I was like, I didn't even remember that name coming out. I remember the ending, but then all the different pieces that had happened, I think I completely forgot about. So then, and I was not good at tribal. I hated being talked to. I told Abby that. I was like, this is too stressful for me. And then Ryan, after I got the because I said in that vote, I was like, I was so anxious because if he had an idol, I was like, I knew he was voting for me and I was gonna go home. So once he did not stand up, I was like, oh, thank God. But I tried to pull him away from Abby at some point. It wasn't shown. This was after cameras turned off. I was trying to talk to him like, hey, what are your thoughts on Abby? Trying to see if he could be pulled away. And he later on, he goes, I thought you were talking to me for Abby. I was like, oh no, that wasn't what was happening. So then I got said, I had always had this hope that Amy and Brandon, I'm like, okay, well, if I make it to merge, that's what I had going in. I didn't want to be the first voted off. So when that happened, it was all right, I want to make it to merge. once I made it to merge, I had nothing. I was like, I'm just, here doing my best.
Mhm.
And like we were talking before we started recording about, I literally had no idea about the Brandon and Nikki duo thing. And
Yeah.
I was like, I felt like so many people talked about it in their confessionals. I'm like, and I told him, I was like, I was just so blinded by our friendship that I was just like, oh, there's no way. And because even as like the shows air, like I ask questions, like I asked Amy about Abby's idol because they like knew about each other's because they had gotten them at the same time. I said, why? I said, you knew about that, like what happened? And it was just the whole strategy thing, which I am so oblivious to, like the way like people strategize and like the thing, like the jury, like thinking about the jury, dude, my mind was not there. Like, let me just get to another day. And what I think really kind of solidified, me not being able to like mentally fight for myself in any way was when Brandon took me out to eat. And then I was like watching it back, I was like, man, like that was so strategic. I was like, I couldn't go back and scramble. I couldn't figure out what was going on because, I was on the reward and I got food in my system. So I was like, it was kind of like more draining to eat food and go back. Cause then, I was not there mentally. And it was crazy. Like the fact I told when I was watching it with my husband, I said, try to guess who voted for me. Try to. And like he didn't. And I was like, until they played it back, I said, yep, it was Joseph. And I just thought that was crazy as well. And the fact that it came down to like almost a tie again, I was extremely proud of that.
Okay, we're back after some more technical difficulties. Ashley, if you want to continue.
Yeah, you computed and then I think so. I was just talking about like I think the nail in my coffin was the getting reward and then not being able to scramble and then not being mentally prepared to try to scramble and figure out what was going on. And then the whole idol play and the fact that it came down to a tie and it like was close to another tie. That made me really happy. I know I wasn't, I don't know. I don't know how to judge my own game. I feel like I am biased against myself in a negative way. Like I am my biggest critic. But like other people who have watched the show and have that perspective, they're like, yeah, like you played a good game. I'm like, okay, I guess. Like, I just feel like there was just so much I didn't know. So I think, if I do another one, like being more aware that literally everyone's lying to me
Yeah.
to benefit themselves. And, that I too have to be more strategic in that sense and like hear what's going on and see who's going off with who. Like, I just feel like I was just not very aware of all that.
Sure. So you're mentioning that you didn't know, about Brandon and Nikki. I guess I'm curious, like, what did you think was the overriding, like, the power structure?
So I knew Abby and Ryan were working together because regardless of me and Abby not voting together, like we were on our original tribe together. And then I saw Francesca, Will, and Nick. So then, and that was weird for me because I only really talked to Nick. Francesca was like towards the end, and I never vibed with Will. So I always felt like I was in the bottom in that time. I'm like, I remember when he won immunity, I almost did, but he won immunity and I was like, this is weird. Like, I don't want to talk to him just because he has immunity. Like, I just don't really talk to him. So then trying to form the bonds around that. And then Nikki, I never really talked to her either. So I guess mine, it was very minimal of the people that I actually was close to.
Yeah, very fair. I'd like to go back to the Jenna vote actually, and kind of clear this up a little bit more. When I talked with Jenna in the last roundtable, she was a little unclear on like where her name started to get thrown around. And I think of you as like a very pivotal person in the decision to do this. And you'd say that like, you know, Nick came to you with it and you were willing to do it because you vibed with him. I guess I'm curious, like, do you know, was that like a Nick decision, like a Nick, Brooke, Ryan decision to take out Jenna at that point? Or like, who do you think was in charge of that? Or who did you see as in charge of that?
So it was whatever other tribe that wasn't my tribe. That was, so I just felt like that, I guess, was more strategic for them.
Mhm.
And then because I wasn't, it was like Renee or Hannah were the easiest for me to go for. And then when Nick approached me, I don't know if he and Nick, maybe you can speak, like, why, like, were you just willing to approach me?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly where that name came from. It was 3 green, I think. Were there 3 purple on the tribe?
Yeah,
and 2 blues. So I went to my green people. I went to Brooke specifically, and we were, you know, I asked her. I just said, "Do you want to try to do like an easy, like blue or something?" Or no, you know what? I'm sorry. I really wanted to work with the blues, so I told her that. I said I kind of want to keep the blues around and work with them. Brooke wanted to get rid of a purple, but she said it can't be Abby. She really wanted to work with Abby, and it can't be Ashley. So Brooke set the ground, and she said it has to be, if we're going to do purple, it has to be Jenna. And I said, okay, I'm fine with that. I said, how about we do a purple to make it seem like we're going after purples, and then we team up with the purples and go for the blues after the next time if we have to go back to tribal. So forget what I said before about wanting to work with the blues. I did want to work with the blues. It just wasn't. That's not what was like the plan that was forming at the time. The plan that was forming was the name of the episode. What Ashley said was we were going to take out 1 purple with their permission, and then we were going to team up with those 2 the remaining purples, and take out the blues. Right. So that was basically Brooke's idea, because she really wanted to work with Abby and she really liked Ashley. So she said Jenna is the only one.
Sure.
And so we ran with it. And I took that idea to Ashley, and then Ashley.
You were so surprised that I went for it. I remember the look on your face when I just thought about it for a second, and I was like, yeah, you're like, really? And I was like, I mean.
Well, I was. And then again, this is my first LRG. And
mine too. And
so I don't know what I'm doing. I went back to Ryan, and I was like, okay, so I just talked to Ashley, and I told her this is what we're gonna do. And he was like, you told her that? Like, he was like, you know she's just gonna go tell Jenna now. And I'm like, my bad. Like, sorry. And that's actually I started to be a little sketched out by Ryan at that moment, because the way he said that to me, he basically just told me I was an idiot in that moment. And I was like, well,
he put me out from the get. That's what I saw on the episodes as well. Like the episode with that, on his confessionals, he was just trying to get me out from the get. I wish we could talk about it.
Yeah. But so anyway, Brooke, it was all Brooke that came up with the Jenna idea.
Cool. Great to know. I guess it's, Ashley, like, I think that like you're someone that people really liked, we're here with your number 1, clearly, to want it to be and not you. I think of you as like a very socially integrated player. And so on that front, like I'm curious, like what your like closest relationships within the game like actually were. You know, who was like someone that you consistently like wanted to go and talk to? Who were the people that you consistently wanted to go and talk to round after round?
So it was Amy and Brandon. And then I think it was with the Ryan vote. Like, and I think I messaged him after this as well to try to get some like clarity. I was like, I think he said Ryan was putting my name out there or something like that. And I said, did you just make that up? To get me to vote for Ryan? And then at one point, Francesca came up to me because, again, like I was just blinded. I was like, why did no one tell me about Brandon and Nikki? And Francesca was like, I did. And then it came to me. She did come to me and and then I saw in the episode, like, she felt like she made a bad move by telling me. And she was just, I remember her saying, like, they're against you. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I just did not believe her. And that's one of the things I wish I would have seen, that Francesca was willing to work with me. Because even in the last tribal, that's what she was like, I just started working with Ashley. And I was like, I didn't even know that. Like, I didn't know you were trying to work with me. Sure. It was like not seeing those things again, because like Amy and Brandon were like I never wanted to say like number ones, but they were the ones that like I worked with the most and had the most like quote unquote trust with, which was another thing I tried to stray away from, because I'm like, at the end of the day, like, you know, it's a sole survivor, like we're all trying to play against each other. Right. But those were the two. And then that's what made it hard, because I was split up from them until merge. So then I didn't know what had happened with the other tribes. And I felt so out of the loop. And then, you know, dealing with Abby and all the live tribals and, you know, not voting with him and all that. So, but yeah, those were the two.
Cool. Great. The last thing I want to touch on is, so your elimination, unfortunately, you know, as I said, like went on for a long time. There was a revote. It was a close vote. Tribal Council never feels good. It's not a great, you know, a lot of nerves, a lot of like excitement there, but you know, you were in a unique situation. So I guess I'm curious to hear you talk about, you know, what it was like to sit there, to see Abby play an idol, to see, you know, the fact that it's going to be a tie between you and Nikki. And then even after that, you have to sit through everyone voting again and a vote read. It's a lot to process. There's a lot that's happening. And I'm curious to hear like what you were feeling like in those many moments, because it was a long time.
So again, I knew going in, and I think this is one of the votes where when I voted for Abby, it's like, maybe you have an idol again. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And then when my name came up, and it was a tie, I was just like maybe this is it. Maybe we're going home. And again, like I said, I am my biggest critic. And in my mind, it's like, they're all going to be Ashley. That's all it's going to be. So then when it went back and forth, Ashley, Nikki, like that felt good in a sense. It's like, okay, like maybe I am playing this game, you know, better than I thought, because it's going back and forth. It's not just, oh, we're just getting Ashley out. And then when the last one was read and I ugly held in a cry, and it was just like full on tears. Yeah. I cried the previous tribal when Ryan went home, because I knew, like I said, I knew it was going to be me if he had an idol. So that, I think that prepared me to then be prepared to, you know, get voted out if that was the way. But I would have rather have it that way. Like I said, I'm very grateful for how it happened, because it was epic. Very long, yes.
It definitely was. You know, before we move on, I guess, you know, as I've asked everyone else, like, what were your like big takeaways or even regrets from your time here in Outlast?
So like I said, I think my biggest regret is just not being more aware of the social sense of it, because if I play another one, I obviously can see that that's kind of where my success lies, is in the social game, but just being better at it. And again, not working with Francesca and seeing that she was open to that. I think those were two takeaways of seeing that. And just, I'm extremely grateful that I got the opportunity, and like this was my first one. Like it was a tough one. So I think the other ones, if I get on them, will be a little less severe than that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that, I mean, we and I say we, I mean Outlast, like we do try to make it very physically difficult. That's one of like our tenets. Like we don't want anyone to you know, like really put themselves like through too much, but you know, we do make it hard. And Amy, we'll talk about how difficult the game is when we talk about your exit as well. But you know, we think that you know, puts people in interesting positions and asks them to make interesting decisions based on like personal comfort and you know, an immediate reward of like being with people you like while you are putting your head literally on the ground, and how that can change you versus, you know, sleeping in a tent or a bag. So definitely Outlast is a hard game. You know, I think everyone on production would say that and say that like that's something that we try to foster. So Brandon, now we'll come to you. You have talked about at the top of this roundtable that you had played once before and won, and in a social way, and so you wanted to play a little bit more strategically and didactically. And I think one of the ways in which that happened is you seem to be kind of the one that forms the like hosts alliance. It was interesting that we had 3 hosts in the game, like, you know, the casting team put that together, but it was especially interesting that you all ended up on different tribes, which was completely random. But it's not a given that you guys would have worked together. And so I'm curious to hear you talk through your decision to like come together as a group and have some power in that way.
Yeah, so Nikki was someone I connected with really easily, so I felt like our connection was there before I was like, oh, we should have a host alliance. I remember on the first, I think it was the first swap tribe. No one was strategizing because we kept winning. And so me and Nikki were sitting in the corner while everyone was chatting, and we were writing notes to each other in the dirt. And we were strategizing with each other with sticks in the dirt. And so like we were trying our best to still strategize. But with Joseph, I didn't feel coming into the game that we had a great relationship because I had not picked him for CYS. And so I made the alliance so that he would trust me. But in actuality, he had no idea who I was. So I outed myself to him, which you saw in the conversation. And making it was a terrible idea because I outed myself. But it was still fun. Our story ended up being fun.
Definitely. I mean, I think that you guys, even if it you know was a quote unquote bad decision, I think the 3 of you end up being very central to a lot of things, and you do share information, it seems, across. And even though, you know, Joseph, you know, in playing the amulet put some heat on him, as we talked about with Jojo, you guys do really like form a center in the game. It seems like, especially with like you and Nikki at the helm there. So I guess I'm curious to move into a bit more of like the strategy of the game itself. You know, you didn't go to a lot of tribal councils early on, but you do emerge like kind of immediately in the merge as like someone who has a lot of power and is making a lot of decisions. And that's a very interesting position to be in, because typically people find themselves with a lot of power having made votes already and formed, you know, close relationships through voting. And that's not something that you really had experienced. And I'm curious to hear you talk through how you saw that sort of happen, and what you think contributed to your position with Nikki in sort of deciding where things go.
I think I honestly lucked out in terms of who made it to the merge. Like if other people made it to the merge, I wouldn't have been in the position I was in. I think at that point, me and Amy have talked about this, but I definitely targeted her like early. But once we got to the merge, I was like, okay, I'm over that.
So let's break into that. Like, why were you targeting Amy early?
Because she was the only player in the game who had played CYS, and so I was like, she's the only person who has that on me, and so I wanted her out for that reason alone. And then as we kept surviving more and more, I was like, okay, I think I maybe overreacted. That wasn't the best idea. So, like, I think had we lost second swap, third swap, like I wouldn't have targeted Amy, but yeah, I think I got lucky because like I had Ashley who had connections from the swap. Nikki had connections from her original tribe. I had connected with Ryan. I had in a sense Jojo and Amy like once we merged. So I think, and then me, Joseph, Liz, and Will had just made a really close alliance when Jojo went off the night before to do the swap. And
Right.
so we kind of bonded over that situation. So I feel like even though I didn't really go to tribal council before the merge, I got lucky with who was there, and I had solid connections with people that were there.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that contributes to your, I think, from the viewer perspective, position sort of at the top here is that you, through the auction, end up with an advantage. And this is one of the funny moments, I think, of the show where you don't turn it in immediately and think like, oh, I can't turn it in. And it's a note for us in the future, but it was always meant to be whenever you turned it in, you get the advantage. But I'd like you to talk through like, once you had seen the menu and you saw the options, like why you ultimately picked the steal a vote.
Yeah. So I don't know if actually this was shown, but when I actually found the advantage in the bagel, everyone was sitting there and I was like, well, shit, I don't know how I'm going to get this. And then everyone went to the bathroom and the only people left were me, Ryan, Nikki, and Joseph. And I was like, this is perfect. And so I pulled it right out and I showed them and I said, this is an advantage. And I put it in my sock. And I was like, I want to work with you three the most and you're going to know about it. And then I forgot about it. I forgot it was in my sock. And so I forgot to look at it in the voting booth. It was a disaster. I honestly don't remember what the other options were. I think one of them was picking who would win a challenge. And if they won, I would also win. And in hindsight, that might have been a better pick because the round I left, I may have picked Francesca. But I don't know. I felt like that was too risky.
Sure.
Whereas like, and it's like out there, everyone would know I am playing this advantage
right
publicly. Whereas the other one, I could hide in the voting booth if I so chose to. But right. I don't remember what the third option was.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think maybe now it's maybe a good time to move into the round that you go out, because it ends up being a quick round. Right after Ashley's gone, we go right to the challenge, right at Tribal Council. And did you feel like pressure on you, right at the start of this?
No. So like, it was not going that direction at all until like the last 3 minutes.
Mm.
And so me and Nikki looked at each other with like a weird look and we were like, oh, fuck. And so we did not have time, or right. I couldn't think of what to do. I I don't want to say I gave up because I definitely wouldn't have given up, but with that such short time, because I found out at the last second, I could not think of what to do.
Sure.
I
What were
think
you? What was your initial plan? What was the Francesco's won immunity? What should we do? Like, what was that first idea?
Yeah, so the first group that came together was the 5 people I wanted to go to the final 5 with. It was me, Nikki, Joseph, Will, and Liz. And we were talking about which of the others were going to get voted out. And I think it landed on Abby again, because he had just played an idol. So and he hadn't been to camp. So there was no way he could have another one. So I think that's where it landed, but I think it quickly changed, and I severely underestimated Will in the game, and I think he was the one that really drove, or at least started, my name going around.
Yeah, we see a conversation with Liz that I do remember, seeing that, because we watched this whole round play out, and I remember that conversation happening, and he tells Liz that, like, you host a game, you've won a game before, you're going to win the game if they don't do it now, and at least in the episode that seems to be sort of a like changing point for your name, the heat on your name.
Yeah, and I think what I learned the 2 times that I've played is that I very much gravitate towards like strong women being my number 1 allies. The first time I played, it was Jazzy, and everyone who is in the Outlast group knows who that is.
An icon.
And this time it was Nikki, and like Francesca literally came up to me during that round when I left and said, if you say that you're willing to vote out Nikki, we can get it to be Nikki. And I was like, I can't. I literally couldn't throw her under the bus. Right. And so I think if I would have had a little bit of a different mindset where I was okay with her leaving, I may have survived another round. I don't know. I know I would have had Francesca.
Sure. I think that's very possible. I think one of the interesting things this round is once you find out a little too late that it's coming against you. But one of the interesting things hearing all this heat is that once there's heat on you and Nikki, the second option doesn't swing to like, oh, well, we should do something about Will, who is like going around and whipping people up. And I guess I'm curious to hear your I mean, you knew, I think, a little too late, but maybe Amy, if you remember what was going on this round. You ultimately vote for Brandon, and I think are in on that plan. But did you have a sense that there was like a second plan that was getting pushed?
I wish I could remember better. I knew I didn't want to vote Brandon. I found it funny after the game when he was telling me that as soon as I saw you, I wanted you gone. And I was the complete opposite. I was like, yes, Brandon's here. But ultimately, I think the way I felt about playing with Brandon was I'll stick with Brandon as long as possible. Eventually people have to turn on each other if you get far enough. But there was a few people that I said I didn't want to write down. Ashley was one. Brandon was another.
Sure.
I don't remember who. I don't remember the other names going around that round, to be honest.
Sure. Very fair. All good. Brandon, do you know? Or?
No, I have no idea. Like I said, I think in that initial conversation, I think it was Abby again. And then after that, all of my conversations were the same, because obviously no one was going to tell me it was me or Nikki. I think in hindsight, because I've had so many months to think about it, it would have been possible to shift it. Because I think there were enough people who didn't want to vote for me, and I had my steal a vote, where I feel like if I had a few minutes, I would have been able to figure it out.
Sure, yeah. This is one of the like format twists, quote unquote, that we give you. Like, this is a lightning round. Maybe if it hadn't been a lightning round, things would have shifted again. This cast loved a late flip.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was on the way to tribal, sometimes it was at tribal. You guys you loved it. Yeah, definitely. I'd also be curious to hear you talk about coming to this game having won before, and maybe how that changed your mindset, or maybe what you wanted to accomplish out of this game. Like, was your goal 2 or nothing, or was it like, I've won and I just want to like try some stuff?
It had been so long, I definitely wanted to win again. Like, there was no like I'm a very competitive person, so like I came in like, I want to win. But I also came in with the baggage, and I honestly, I don't like watching myself cry, so I skipped over it. I don't know what was shown, but I came in with the baggage of, I won 4-3, and people after the game said they regret their vote for me. So I had a lot of baggage from like not thinking I deserved to win. So coming in, I was like, okay, I won for my social game, so this time I need to focus on my strategy, and just like be as not as out there as I could, but I wanted to drive votes. Like, I wanted to be a main character in what was happening, because last time I kind of took a back seat to someone else strategizing, and I feel like I accomplished that in
I
the
think so.
few,
You won 2
in the few rounds
immunities.
of merge. Yeah. And I feel like my social game was still good, but I was able to focus more on my strategic game. So I felt very good about my everything that happened, honestly.
Great. That's great to hear. And I guess just to wrap up this section, any regrets? You just said that you're content, but any other like lasting feelings? You leave the game, like, what's the feeling?
No, I feel really good about how I played. I regret not, like Nick, I regret not voting for Joseph the round that he called me out. Wait, so I do want to talk about that. At the round when Avi first played his idol, that vote switched to Avi in part because we wanted to save Joseph. So I was putting my neck out on the line to make sure that Joseph was safe and didn't get voted out. And then at Tribal, he had the nerve to throw me under the bus and blame me for saving him. And so I was pissed. And I wish I was pissed enough to vote for him, but I couldn't. And that's a regret.
Sure. Very fair. Anything else?
No.
No. Okay. Cool. Good. That's fine. So Amy, we'll end with you. You're someone that had been part of the Outlast community before you had played, and so I would love to hear you speak about like your relationship with Outlast coming into the game, and like what attracted you to it. Why you ultimately applied for this season, and yeah, what your stance was coming in.
Well, being there for seasons 1 and 2, I knew how difficult the game was, and I was like, no way, nope. But then I played Brandon's game, and Brandon made me climb an actual mountain, like a 3,000-foot mountain.
Yeah.
So. And also, I will say that game was also 4 days and 3 nights, and I slept okay. So it's possible.
Right.
I was going through some things. But I knew if I could do that extremely difficult game, I had enough games under my belt where I thought my nerves wouldn't get the best of me, and I would have a little more confidence, all which have turned out to be untrue. I kind of just said, all right, it's time. Little nudging from the side. Go ahead, apply. You should apply. You should apply. I actually applied for season 3, but that didn't work out, which was okay because that was the year I ended up playing CYS. So, and then I came back and played season 4. So it was just, I don't know. I knew the other side of Outlast, and now I wanted to see, well, maybe I could do it.
Yeah.
So I just went for it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we love when people take the leap. So I give you a lot of credit for having seen, it being difficult, knowing that it's difficult, and wanting to dive in anyway. Let's start sort of at the, I guess, I mean, it's not the beginning of your game, but in the pre-merge, you and Abby both go on a journey at night to get an idol. And I was talking with your daughter Taylor, and she said this is the first idol that you've had in the game, which I don't know if that's true or not, but she's said that. Anyway, I'm curious. The part of the twist of this is that you have to sneak out of camp at night. We say good night, and then send you on your way. What was your strategy to sneak out of camp?
Well, that was also the first time I had worn shorts in 20 years. So I had an excuse. I need to go put my pants back on. Okay. So I was like, I don't know if probably no one noticed but me, but watching the episode knowing, this is where I'm going to sneak out of camp. I'm standing there holding my pants for the last half an hour of the episode. But that was my excuse, and just run down the trail. I didn't know Abby was going to be there. I wish I beat him there by a minute and I had gotten the first choice, because I would have taken the one he did with the water over the head. But I took the other one, which was only good for 2 rounds because there were 4 choices total. And Abby took the water over the head, which was, I think his idol was good for, I want to say 3 rounds. Mine was just take the idol and go, but it's only good for 2 rounds. Yep. And then one was go dig in that sand trap. And I was like, there's no way. I can't be gone for doing that in the dark. No way. There's not time. And then the other option was the following day to get up and grab it in front of everyone at tribal council. And I said, nope. So just timing wise, I had already told my tribe, I'll be right back. I'm just going to go use the bathroom and change my pants. I'll be right back. So give me the shortest lasting idol, so I at least have an idol, and get back to camp. And I was so just, oh my God, I got to hurry up. I don't want to get caught. Back down the trail, took the first left and went into the wrong camp. That might have looked sketchy to some people, but it was just an innocent mistake. I was like, sorry, crazy old lady, I just got lost, which was true. Yeah. But if I was them, I'd have been like, what the heck? Is she spying? What is she doing? But I really did just make a wrong turn. And then I heard people calling for me. So I was like, oh God, what am I going to tell them? But yeah, so I just came back with my pants on, and I didn't let that idol leave my body until I played it, which didn't need to be played when I did, but it expired that round, and Abby had just gotten up and played his. So I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, totally. Was there ever a thought in your mind to play it to save Jojo?
No. Sorry, Jojo. No,
I get it. I was a nuisance. I was being a nuisance. I get it.
Yeah, but that didn't bother me as much as it bothered some other people. I don't care. Plus, I had fun when Jojo and I, when we were partners with the wobbly table blocks. I tried to get him to spit on the blocks and just do it the right way, but I think he spit on top of it instead of between them, and that was hilarious to me. So I just love Jojo. Yeah, I don't think I would have played it for anyone else, just because it was at that time that Taylor was right. That was the first idol I'd ever had in any of my games. And so I wanted to play it for me. Mm-hmm. And I also didn't tell anyone I had it. Abby's the only one that knew.
Right.
But yeah, I think I would have rather just did what I actually did and just play it and not need it than play it wrong, go home with it in my pocket, or I mean, play it for someone else or go home with it in my pocket. I just wanted to play it and say, hey, I played an idol just to do it.
Yeah. I'm a big proponent of, if it's expiring, play it. I know some people love to like hold on to it for, longer to make it. I'm always like, no, I don't.
Yeah, I have enough souvenirs. I didn't want that one to be a souvenir.
Be safe. Take the safety. So the thing about your game that I think is really interesting is that you sort of self-describe yourself as kind of like a floater through a lot of groups here. And you really were like, you were proximate to the Brandon and Nikki sort of like hosts group, but then you had a really close relationship with Ashley, and it seems like had something going with Liz as well in that like 5-person group, and so you really had like a lot of options. You were lodged firmly in there, and that's sort of a difficult position to maintain, because all it takes is someone to be like,
what's she doing? Let's get her out of here. Yeah.
Right.
What is she even doing?
Exactly, to come back on you. And we didn't see that happen at any point. And so I guess I'm curious, if you have any insight into how you were able to avoid that sort of target on your back as you were, drifting through groups.
It's hard to say, but I think I knew I felt close with, certain people, and several people I had good relationships with, but I don't think I was anyone's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I had number ones in my head, I had a few number ones. Yeah, like this person, that person, I'm not voting them, but I definitely think I kind of Aubrey'd my way through the game, just here, there, stick with people I like and vote with them when I need to, and anyone but me attitude. And then once I made merge, I wanted to, first of all, I was like, holy crap, I can't believe I made it this far. These challenges are really difficult, and I'm not the most athletic, obviously, but I did better than I thought I would. And I was like, oh my goodness, I made merge. Do I have a chance? Well, I know I'm not looked at as like the strongest, so I don't know when exactly, but shortly into the merge, I think I said it in one of my confessionals. It's time to now sell myself as the GOAT, because I don't know where I stand with a lot of people. A lot of my one-on-ones with people were productive, but also I was like, I don't know if they're trusting me. So whether I felt like I was earning my way to the end physically, strategically, socially, or whether I was like trying to convince people, hey, I'm your GOAT, just take me with you. I didn't care. I just wanted to get to the end. And so just my instincts at those times were to start telling people, trust me, you want me at the end with you. I'm terrible answering questions, so just take me.
Sure. So the point at the game in which you left was the final 7. Had you stayed, do you have a sense of like what you wanted to do in that round, and what group you kind of wanted to move forward with? 7 tends to be a very pivotal number in these games.
At that point, I was starting to think about who scared me the most to sit next to. So that would be probably Abby, Nikki. I thought Will was playing a pretty good undercover game. I mean, everyone there could win at that point. I thought anyone that was still there could win if they could sell it to the jury. So literally, I was just bebopping around trying to keep sure that my name wasn't being brought up. And it worked up to that point. I don't know if my name was going around and just people hadn't told me. I don't know if I'm correct in thinking I was starting to be looked at as the GOAT, which that doesn't offend me one bit. I don't care if I'm Hercules and I get there or if I'm the GOAT. I just want to get there, like I said. So, yeah, I'm very interested to see the beginning of the next episode and see if there's any confessionals where I feel like most people are going to be like, oh, that's too bad. Hope she feels better. And on we go. But I also get a gut feeling and I'm nervous that some people might be like, damn it, she ruined our plans. So, which was not intentional.
Sure.
And I got to give a shout out to Will because Will was awake with me when I made a little decision in the middle of the night. And so Will was up just listening to me vent and thinking out loud, oh my God, what's going on? And I also just want to say, because in the episode, it was edited beautifully, by the way. Thank you, Rachel. It was more than just, I'm tired. Everyone's tired. I understand that fully. We're all hungry. We're all tired. So this is my 20 seconds of other excuses because it just wasn't anything talked about. But it was, like I said, it wasn't just, I'm so tired. I need to go take a nap. I had just lost my mom. And so that was constantly on my mind. I was having relationship issues, which anyone who's ever had those, that's like always there. Even when you go to work and you're thinking about it and there's things on your mind. I was struggling with the loss of my mom. And then the other thing, which when I got home, my friend reminded me of, I have really bad migraines. And so the week before Outlast, I had to take a 7-day dose of steroids. And the 7th day was the night before Outlast started. So I was still jittery. I was mourning my mom. I was thinking about my home life. And I'm like, I think the tiredness just was the icing on the cake because I've made it through long games before. CYS. Brandon can vouch. I was fine. There was no issues. I didn't lose my marbles. I wasn't a sleeper problem person. In my very first game before that, same thing. 3 nights, no problem. So I just want to put that out there. It wasn't just, I'm so tired. I can't do this. I'm just tired. It wasn't that. The want to go to the end was in me so strongly. I don't want to say I'm not over it, but it still bothers me deeply how I left. I talk about it with like my 2 besties all the time. I've been sick to my stomach waiting for this episode, like, oh God, and this podcast, like all of it. But now that it's almost a year, I'm mostly over it. Like I'm not still crying about it, but yeah, that was really tough. And I'm more disappointed in myself than any of the other players whose plans I might have ruined could be, or anyone watching. And like anyone out in the community that knows me knows how much I love these games. I would never just quit. So I really wasn't well. It just wasn't well.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what I was saying to Will. He must have been thinking, holy crap. I don't even know what I said to him, but I mean, for the most part, everyone was pretty understanding. I think I was only gone for about 2 hours. It was a short nap. Well, yeah, that was extremely traumatic for me because just
no, it's very hard and
disappointing yourself like that is just, especially knowing when I went in, like Outlast is one of the hardest games. I'm never going to do well in this game. And then to see, oh my God, I'm in final 7. What?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm interested to hear the next roundtable because I don't know if I had a chance. I could be making this all up in my head and just trying to make myself feel better. I don't know. I'm fairly confident though that if any of them did take me to the end, I would have not been able to answer questions well. So
Sure.
if anyone ever plays another game with me and I tell you that, I'm serious. Just take me to the end.
Well, if anybody's watched season 2, they'll know that I'm not very good at Final Tribal as well. So it's a thing.
I beg to differ.
I just want to say, like, I really appreciate you, like, coming out, even with like difficult stuff at home and coming into the game and pushing through a lot of that for as long as you did. I'm someone that, like, it's not to say that I don't cast Outlast, but when we cast people, like, we know that everyone that we cast, like, can play these games. But we also know that, like, sometimes it comes up and the people that we've cast, like, for whatever reason, they can't make it through. It happens. This is an LRG. It's not life or death. We really want people to make decisions that they need to make to prioritize their comfort and themselves above the game. Sure, it as you say, I don't know. I haven't talked with the final 6. We'll hear. I don't know if it messed up anybody's plan. I also don't think that personally, like, that's part of should be part of, like, your calculus in this. Like, if you need to leave, you need to leave. And I think our ethos in Outlast is very much aligned with that. That, like, we're here for you guys all as players first. This is an experience that we mean to be fun and enjoyable for everyone. And the second that stops being the case, you are free to do as you need to. Someone quit on my season. I almost quit on my season. It was raining really hard. It was really cold. I woke up in the middle of the night shivering, like,
yeah, you guys had a bad storm.
Yeah, it was really bad. And I was seconds away from grabbing a flashlight, going to find Justin and saying, take me out right now. And
it's hard.
I didn't, of course, but it can be difficult. And I very much think that, like, the second that, in any of these games, like, it becomes difficult. Like,
yeah. Another thing I just want to say is I never stopped having fun. Even when I lost all the marbles in my head, I was still having fun because I just love LRGs so much. Even if I'm there crying in the corner, I'm still happy to be there. And also, about a month after Outlast, I played another game. And I did get an idol, so I had to think back when you said that. I was like, oh yeah, which order was it? And I made the final tribal council. And that one was an earned spot for sure. It definitely, I wasn't goated there. So that really helped my confidence come back, because when I left Outlast, I can never play again. I can't show my face in this community. I don't have what it takes. And I was just really down about it for a long time. But so,
well, I want you to know that, like, you're always welcome in the Outlast community.
Thanks. Well, I'll see you in 2 months.
Yeah. So
yeah. But yeah, so I think I needed that little boost when I played the game after Outlast. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be on this call. I might be in the chat. I would just. And I don't even, if it sounds like I'm making light of any of this, I'm not. It still really bothers me. I'm probably gonna go back and tear up a little bit when I watch the episode again with my friend this week. It's tough, and I love this entire cast. Well, first of all, I love the whole crew, just because I always did. But this whole cast, like, I wish I got to work with Nick more. Nick was hilarious. only reason I voted for Nick was it's just like when you have only certain choices, you know what I mean? It's like, which is the least bad choice to make? And unfortunately, that was Nick. But I found Nick to be hilarious. I found Jojo to be very endearing. Like, I talk a lot of shit in real life, like Jojo, and I would probably be in hysterics if we had a beer together, you know? So, like, I like everyone. And when people in the community as a whole, there's some people that maybe, I don't want to say that aren't liked, but they have reputations as being difficult or argumentative or a very will lie to you in every single game. They don't care. I like everyone. There's really not anyone that I can't get along with. So I just hope that the way I left, I hope I didn't mess up anyone else's game or like offend anyone. I don't know. I still am not 100% how I feel about it. I still feel bad.
Sure.
I feel disappointed in myself. I feel bad if I ruined anything for anyone else. For all I know, I was the vote in that morning. I don't even know. So I'm very interested to hear what the next 6 have to say.
Sure. Before we move on to our final segment, I want to leave off with you. Like, what's a positive aspect that you came out of the game with? You've talked about a lot about your regrets and all that, but what's something positive that you took away from your Outlast experience?
I guess to tie up the last little bit of me leaving, it's still a big regret, but also if I didn't, I would hate to see how the last, 9 hours of the game that was left, it wouldn't have been pretty. I probably would have like passed out or something. I was dehydrated and all exhausted like everyone, but I physically was like not feeling well. And before I made the decision to go get my car keys from production and go sleep in my back seat, I wasn't sure if that was the right thing to do. Can I stick it out or I got to get out of here? What's the right thing to do? It's 3 or 4 in the morning or something. And so I went to the bathroom first. I was like, let me go to the bathroom, think about it. And as I was walking down the trail in the middle of the night, this is embarrassing, but like I was hallucinating. I saw snow coming down.
Oh.
I knew it wasn't snowing. I knew it was July
Yeah.
and it was hot and sticky and humid, but I also know what I was seeing. And I was like, okay, this is not going well. And if I try to push another, 10, 12 hours, whatever, I could really, like, what if I fall down and hit my head or something stupid? That's going to be worse. So making that decision was the hardest thing I did, but also in hindsight, I'm proud of myself for doing it.
Yeah. It takes a lot of strength to know your limits.
Because I didn't want to,
Yeah.
but I had to. So looking back, it might have been the best decision.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like
I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about it all to this day.
Sure.
I have mixed feelings. But I am, on a lighter note, I'm proud of myself for making it through so many of those hard challenges.
Yeah.
Other than the first where we're holding up the ball and me and Brandon were like, ready, 1, 2, 3. But after that, I was like, oh my God, I'm doing pretty well in most of them. At least what they showed on camera. Maybe not so much with the running, but like when you had to use your brain or have good aim and stuff like that. Like I was holding my own with the young kids. So I felt good about that. And like I said, playing another game after helped me get my confidence back. There's just so much. And then I didn't know most of the people when we got there. I knew Brandon. I knew of Nikki. I'd have to look back. I think I knew of Ryan, but I hadn't met anyone other than Brandon. So it was comforting playing in front of the crew who I would consider a lot of them friends. Like, I don't know. As bad as it ended for me, I still wouldn't trade playing this game for anything. And I still tell people, you should play, you should play. Don't worry about what happened to me. You're not a crazy person. You can do it. So yeah, I have such a big soft spot for Outlast. I wanted to volunteer in the first season just because Taylor was playing and I wanted to go and watch my daughter play, and they haven't been able to get rid of me since, and hopefully they never do.
No, we never get rid of anyone. So we would never get rid of you. So
Good.
you know, I'm very glad that you're here and that you're still feel like you're part of the Outlast community, and we certainly still think of you as a very valuable member of this cast and of the community as a whole.
Time to go back to like being a tribe babysitter.
Great, we need that. But before we wrap up, I'm going to go around and ask everyone just one thing that we didn't get to see from your game that you want to highlight. This can be a conversation that you had that was strategic, a moment that you thought was funny, anything that didn't make the edit, something that you were thinking about. Jojo, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I have two things. First, want to talk about my challenge stats. You know, absolutely flubbed the social game, but your boy is a dog in the challenges. The reward challenges, we had 4 in the beginning. And out of 18 people, they were all individual challenges. I got first, let me remember. I got third in the first one. I got first in the second one. I got 6th in the third one. And then I got first again in the last one, which wasn't really shown. And I think out of 18 people, that's a little ridiculous. And I'm a little proud of myself, and I wanted to talk about that. But secondly, I want to talk about something that happened after I was voted out of the game. So, you know, Nick had just been voted out of the game. We're about to go to the Ryan Tribal Council. In my idea, I have this head for this incredible thing that we could do. But I'm like, man, like, Nick just got voted out. You know, I don't really know if your boy's going to be down. But we start walking to Tribal. And I just turn around. I'm like, you think it'd be funny if we swapped shirts, like, for this Tribal Council, if we just, you know, change shirts? And he said, yeah, that'd be great. And from that moment, that was the moment that I knew that Nick Doig was my dog, bro. Because we swapped the shirts and we had our little moment after we had both been voted out. And I loved that so much. So I just wanted to be able to talk about that real quick.
Great. Nick, how about you?
Yeah, I also wanted to talk about the pink shirt moment because it was one of my favorite moments in the whole game. And the fact that me and Jojo went out back to back, and me and him are so alike in, like, the fact that we were not even in the game anymore, and we found a way to make it about us. Like, that's just typical Nick and Jojo. Like, that's why we need our own little buddy comedy show. But I thought that was hilarious. I was looking forward to that moment, and I'm glad it made it in. I got to see, like, the reaction of everybody. It was a great time. But to answer your question, I don't know if there's really much that that wasn't shown. One thing that I did think of is that on the vote when I went out, the challenge was the one where you have to run out and do the math equation, and Brandon got immunity. So no one really knows this. Everyone always has this little something that they hide from people. I wasn't really hiding it. I just didn't mention it, but I was a math teacher for 1 year. I'm actually very good at math. I love math. And so when I saw that challenge, I was pumped because I was like, oh, no one knows I'm good at math. This is going to be great. I wrote my answer down and showed it to Allison about 3 seconds before Brandon, but I was off. Somehow I was off by one number. I don't know what I did wrong, but it was just I was trying to memorize all the different things, and I was off by one number, and then I was about to go out and come back and fix it, and then Brandon solved it, and I was pretty upset. It didn't show that at all, any of that in the edit, but I was this close to getting immunity, and it would have just been a whole nother game if I had gotten that immunity, and that was a bummer. But yeah, I just had a blast, and also it didn't show any of my chafing, which thank you, Ashley, again for. I was chafing real bad. I was walking around like a cowboy with like my legs spread like a cowboy. And then and I talked about it in my confessionals too, and I don't think it made it in. But Ashley gave me one of her spare buffs to wear on my thigh to help me with the chafing. It helped a lot. But that was funny. That was a funny moment. Yeah, that's really all I got. I had a great time and I loved it.
Great. Ashley, how about you?
So I think I put this in the feedback form too, was when Amy went to go change her pants, I was legitimately worried about her. I was like, where is Amy? Is she okay? So me and Liz go out and we're just like, at some point I was gonna talk to production. I was like, I don't know. We were like yelling for Amy. We went all the way out and we were coming back, and I was like, do we talk to production? Like, I'm seriously worried about her. And then there she was and like thought nothing of it. So how that all played out in the hindsight that she was going to get an idol while I'm like just worried about her well-being.
Yeah.
So that was what I wish would have made it in.
That's funny. Brandon?
Okay, so yeah, I already talked about me and Nikki drawing in the sand. So the other big one was the last night I was in the game, so it would have been night 2. I think I was only out there 2 nights.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep. It was so cold, and I made the stupid decision to not bring a coat because I wanted to look cool in this stupid knitted cardigan. And
Well, I will say you did look cool.
right. But at night it was a terrible idea. So I was freezing. So I didn't sleep, and there were coyotes, and I spent the entire night thinking about how I would fight off coyotes. I was just staring up at the sky, thinking about fighting coyotes. And then I heard 2 people go off and talk to each other like early in the morning, and I genuinely have no idea who it was. But I was like, I need to know what they're talking about. So I woke Nikki up in the middle of the night and I told her to go follow them just to find out what they were talking about. For no reason. I have no idea who it was. And